It's 4:30, and I'm calling to order the CAMPO meeting of March 11th, 2026. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Novak,
Here?
Vice Chair Maloney, Member Bagwell, Member Casanelli, Member Costa,
Here.
Member Nordlow, Member Schutte, Member Vary. A quorum is present.
Okay, thank you. Moving on our agenda, this is our first opportunity for public comment. Item 3, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at this point? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 4 for possible action, approval of the minutes of our last meeting, February 11th, 2026. Any questions or comments or corrections on that from anybody?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes unanimously. All right, move on to our next item. Public meeting item 5A for discussion only. A discussion and presentation regarding the draft Unified Planning Work Program, UPWP, for the proposed CAMPO activities during fiscal year 2027 and 2028. And Kelly, you've got this, and it's in our packet, and sounds like you guys have been coming up with some good ideas for the next 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kelly Norman, Senior Transportation Planner. The Unified Planning Work Program details CAMPO's work elements, tasks, activities, and how they are funded. CAMPO receives funding from the FHWA and the FTA for regional planning activities. These two funding sources are combined as Consolidated Planning Grant, or CPG, funds, which reimburse MPOs like CAMPO for planning activities. The UPWP is a 2-year document that is updated annually. This UPWP covers fiscal years 2027 and 2028. The board may notice a couple of changes in this year's UPWP. First, the 100% Complete Streets federal match will end July 1st, 2026, so all MPO activities within this next UPWP are subject to the reimbursed rate of 95% consolidated planning grant funds versus 5% local match. And secondly, staff has programmed conservatively within the fiscal year 2027 in order to mitigate risks associated with known and unknown timelines on federal funding. So the UPWP is planned on a fiscal year timeline from July to July. The Consolidated Planning Grant federal funding is planned on a federal fiscal year timeline from September to September. CAMPO's planning for the known gap between July and September, and also other unknown gaps that may occur. This will allow CAMPO to have continuous funds to cover continuous activities, fulfilling CAMPO's goal on providing that cooperative, comprehensive, and continuous planning to the region. CAMPO's public participation plan requires a 30-day public notice for the UPWP. The 30-day public notice began March 4th. And is open through April 3rd. A legal ad went out on Saturday, March 7th in the local papers. This draft UPWP has been shared with NDOT. The final draft will be brought to the April 8th CAMPO meeting for final approval, and staff welcome public feedback and board feedback on the UPWP tonight at the public meetings or anytime throughout the month to inform the activities of CAMPO. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Are there any questions or comments from our board up here? It looks like they've got things planned out and based on how much work they can get done in the given time, and federal funding is still iffy as far as I'm concerned. So you're doing the best you can.
Very good.
Oh,
I had a question here. There are a lot of activities planned in the UPWP that I think are worthwhile and important. Really, the only comment I would have is that, is there any way that we can increase the number of deadlines or some kind of measurement on how these are accomplished? I see in some cases they are, like, for example, there may be a requirement that a given report be submitted on time or by a certain date. That's fine. But I see some other ones that we could go ahead and try and get a specific objective to see how well we're meeting that plan.
Staff is usually strategic about the deadlines that we have. If they're hard deadlines, we add them to the UPWP. This being a planning document, we try to adhere to those deadlines, the ones that are required. The ones that are not required, we try to plan accordingly to achieve those. But I'm willing to talk to you about specific deadlines that you would like for specific tasks.
Yeah, I will go ahead and provide a list. Yeah, I understand that the comment period anyhow is up until April 3rd. So we got a few weeks, okay?
Okay, any other comments?
Just briefly, and this isn't a trick question. Last UPWP, we, as I recall, hired a consultant to help with some of the planning documents. Can you just touch on how that went? Was that successful? Because it looks like in 3.4, we have consultant on some of these reviews and kind of general planning work. And I'd like to just hear kind of how that went before and if we're planning on doing that again.
Yeah, staff plan on working with consultants again. Really, we're planning that more towards the 2028 period. Yeah, staff work well with consultants and have worked well in the past and will into the future.
Okay, any questions? Good, and next year, the 2027, the legislature will be back in town, so I'm sure you'll be busy and see what else comes out of that. And I see we've got some corridor studies kind of mapped out one after the other, so thank you. You guys are listening and thinking strategically, and we have a regional transportation plan now, right? But that doesn't stop the planning. Okay. So move on to the next item. Okay. Agenda item 5B, and this one is for action, so I'll ask for public comment. And this is to discuss our surface transportation block grant funds. And we've got a couple of projects, Curry Street and Fairview listed. And I guess there's unspent money after that as well. So we'll see what you have to say and whatever comments we have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kelly Norman, Senior Transportation Planner. So on January 10th, CAMPO staff released a call for STBG-funded projects. This call was open until February 19th of this year. There were two submissions, both by the Carson City RTC. The RTC asked for $325,000 for the Curry Street Complete Streets project and $901,000 for the District 3 Fairview Drive Preservation Project. STBG funding requires a 5% local match. RTC grant submissions total $1,226,100 in STBG grant funding. The local match would be $64,532 to be paid for by the RTC. There is $953,900 in STBG funding left to be distributed. In order to assure that this STBG funding does not expire, staff recommend prioritizing the obligation of these funds. If the board would like, staff can recommend some suggestions, but it's up to the board. Thank you.
All right, and my initial reaction, I didn't have any problem with these two projects. The one I still have a little, concern, confusion is Curry Street, since there's possible federal lands bill that's gonna get more land around Curry Street. So that would be a separate project, or are we looking at that future link now in some of the design or the analysis? Because if it's gonna come, and it might, that would be a good use for the remaining money, but I wasn't sure time-wise how that would actually pan out.
Some of our RTC representatives are here to talk about, do you want to or the transportation manager can speak about Curry Street and the future plans.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Martinovich, Transportation Manager. We're not planning to include the fourth leg of the Stewart Curry Street roundabout into our current Curry Street Complete Streets project. We don't know when the timing of that federal lands bill was going to pass, what the steps are once it does pass to making the land transfer happen, how quickly that may or may not happen, what are the environmental complications with doing so, what do we do with the Forest Service property? There's a lot of questions associated with that connection, and so we're intending that to be a separate project.
Thanks. I just, it'll be complicated.
Well, the issue for me, if I may, Mr. Chair, nothing we're doing here would be negatively impacted by that project. That's what's important, is that we're not putting any money in that we'd turn around and would rip up, right? That's where you go, well, that was wasted money, because then we should select a different project. That's what I needed on the record. Thank you.
Does staff have any suggestions at this point for the remaining dollars?
Yeah, there's a couple of options. So staff can initiate another call for projects. The CAMPO board can award more money to the two projects that have already been recommended for award. And again, representatives can talk about, if you have more questions about the two projects, we can have a project manager talk to you about that. Staff can work individually with Douglas and Lyon, Carson for funding, as well as consider safe routes to school funding, which covers Carson City, Lyon, Douglas, and Story, which is eligible for SDBG funding. The CAMPO board can choose to wait. Some SDBG funds may expire if we wait, though. And then if there are other suggestions by the board, we can consider those as well.
What's the timing for the expiration on the STBG? What's the granting period?
We're not sure because we don't know how old all these funds are. So our target is to try to get these obligated as soon as we can so that we ensure we don't lose any of the STBG funding.
STBG funding is allotted to CAMPO because it is between 50 and 200,000
For the MPO.
people. And there's a number allotted to that size MPO, and we're the only one in Nevada. So we have that money allotted to us. That's
Pretty much ours to spend,
mm-hmm.
and let's be smart about how we do it, right? So
I think staff's recommendation, Kelly did a great job outlining the options. I think our recommendation is to work with 3 agencies and see if there are other projects that maybe didn't get applied for in this case, to see if there's a project missing out there, or there's a project that's short of funding that we could potentially use STBG funding to make up a difference, or to start like a safety project, identifying local road safety planners, one of those elements. The other option is we could roll it forward in coordination with Carson City to a future pavement preservation project.
One of the options was to take some additional money into the projects that are recommended today. If the projects recommended today could use that money, why didn't they request that money? And what would the money be used for those options?
There, through the review of the RTC, with the RTC and the projects that were applied for, Curry Street is still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of discussion occurring with that one. In fact, I think we're going to bring an item up in the next couple of months to the RTC for the status of that project. So that project has a lot of moving parts and could potentially benefit from additional funding. We're not 100% sure yet. I think the Fairview Drive project probably doesn't have a lot of need for additional federal funding at this time, and I think that project would struggle to spend any additional funding.
Yes, just first of all, to be clear, we have, if I understood correctly, we have $1 million left that we have to obligate STBG funding. Is that correct?
$953,900.
I'm sorry, what was that number again?
$953,900.
Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
we had talked about before widening Curry, and I understand that it's part of this project here, from Rhodes to the Railroad Museum. How big of a widening are we talking about for that project?
Mr. Costa, I'm gonna pause on answering that question until the RTC can receive a presentation on Curry Street. There's a number
Okay.
of design alternatives that are being considered. So I'd like to, if you don't mind, please deferring that until we can
Okay.
come with a comprehensive review of that project.
Okay.
And
Would
when
one
is
way
that?
to,
Yeah.
one way to expand this money or expend this money is to increase the length longer than from Rhodes to the Railroad Museum? Is that a possibility?
We plan to bring the Curry Street project, I'll answer kind of secondly. First of all, we plan to bring the Curry Street project either April or May. So plan on that to the RTC. In terms of extending the length of the project, that isn't currently what we are considering, but we can consider that as part of that discussion at that time.
Okay.
So just as a clarification, the other discussion potentially is adding it into safe routes to school. Did we have projects that, well, actually across everything, don't we have projects that we kind of have in order of priorities and things, and we may not have enough money, and we'll be doing that in May, where we're picking roads and things. So are we at any risk of losing these dollars if we wait till May and look at the overall, all the projects that we're funding and looking at? Which could at that time then include anything if Lyon or Douglas missed the opportunity to bring it back and we do
We're-
the other 953,000 in May?
We're not in jeopardy of losing any money until,
That's what I suggest
yeah.
that we do then is,
Yeah.
let's look at the totality of what we're doing so that we have the best use of the dollars.
Yeah, I
Potentially.
think we all pretty much agree that there's lots of options, but let's spend the money wisely.
Yeah, and I don't have enough information to make a good choice without seeing the
Yep.
whole
Yep.
laundry list,
Okay.
which I'm sure will be long. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this is an action item, so is there any public comment at this point? Just kind of see where we stand, which is, let's spend what we can now and hold off on the rest, so. All right, seeing no public comment, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm happy to do it. I move to award STBG funding to the Carson City RTC for the Curry Street Complete Street Improvement Project in District 3 Fairview Drive Preservation Projects, and to direct staff to bring us the potential remaining use in the May meeting.
Okay, I have a second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, Lyon and Douglas, you guys can think about it between now and then too.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Okay.
That's right. I'll bet yours is long too, huh? Somehow.
All righty, we're on non-action items. 6A, we start with Chris's Transportation Manager's Report.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Martinovich, Transportation Manager. I'll just start off by saying, I think that was the direction we were looking for, is how best to proceed with those funds in that prior agenda item. Just getting some guidance as to what to do with those is helpful, so thank you for that. Big picture here, we are coordinating with NDOT and a little bit with Lyon County on some signal improvements along the US 50 corridor in Lyon County. There are three new intersections, 3 new traffic signals planned along that corridor, and CAMPO and Carson City staff are actively reviewing and seeing making sure those signals are being implemented in the correct ways and matching all of our maintenance requirements and things like that going forward. So just know that we're coordinating with those agencies on those new traffic signals out there in Lyon County. Unfortunately here, this board approved a grant application for FTA 5339B competitive funds for the purchase of a transit vehicle. We were not awarded those funds. We didn't ask for very much, but we did not receive that competitive grant award. So we'll We'll look to fund that vehicle through other means down the line, but I just wanted to circle back on that grant application and notify the board. We did not receive that one. At the next meeting, we do anticipate bringing a contract to kick off the East Dayton Bridge project. We're working to finalize the scope and fee with a consultant on that one, and we'll get that project started in April. We also plan next meeting to bring forward a TIP amendment. There are a number of projects, as we just adopted in the prior action item, that now require some TIP amendments to account for those federal funds going to those projects. So that'll initiate, and there are some other amendments that need to occur as well. And then lastly, as noted with agenda item 5A, the final UPWP will be brought forward for possible approval by this board as well. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris at this point? All right, move on to 6B, the NDOT report.
This month, I wanted to remind everybody that this March is Nevada Moves Month, so we're excited about that. We appreciate the partnership we have with CAMPO and their Safe Routes to School efforts, and we always like to extend any help that we can to that group. February 23rd, we had some pretty big winds in the Washoe Valley, and we had some issues. I just wanted to note that NDOT does have 30 roadside wind warning devices out there. So we try our hardest to ensure that we're prohibiting large vehicles from entering the valley. It's even with 30, people will ignore that. Another thing is that we did get some concerns with some of the detours through Lakeview, and we've reached out to the different Waze and Google and Apple mapping to kind of remove that as a detour. We understand that that did create some issues with some of the residents up there, so we're trying to work on that. And then next month we plan to bring the US 50 Carson, US 50 Dayton Preservation Project here for a presentation. Chris and I are working on what that's actually going to look like, and hopefully it's all good news for you guys in terms of some of the things we're incorporating from the corridor study that you've completed. And with that, one final note, the STBG funds that you guys use, that's a pass-through through NDOT, and I just wanted to note, we in practice always use the oldest funds first. So when you ask about the expiration, our financial management group is really good about making sure we don't have any funds sitting in an expiring status. So rest assured that we're working hard with CAMPO to ensure that those old funds are getting out first, especially as it comes to projects. And I do want to note CAMPO and this group is really good about getting those LPA projects out and constructed. So we really do appreciate that. And with that, that's all I have.
I have a question.
Yeah, question.
So
please.
you mentioned that you were receiving complaints about Lakeview being in as an alternate route via Google or things like that. Where is it that the traffic would go if they're not utilizing? I guess that's a more important story. What is the alternate route? There
Yeah,
isn't one, right? Without using that?
It's really tough. We were, from what I understood, we were pushing people towards the East Lake, but people were trying to, from what I understand, and it wasn't, I don't want to say complaints, concerns is a little easier. What people were trying to do is get through the traffic that was stacking on the 580 and trying to worm through there, through the East Lake kind of bypass, so to speak. And it was
But that's
concern-
the two choices,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
You got
unless-
3 ways to get through. You're going there, you're going there. you're going
Unless you want to
straight
go out
through.
50 up,
And around.
up to Virginia City and down. So, or through the lake. We've all probably had to experience that ourselves with some of the fires through the valley, a decade ago or so. So it's a situation that we are aware of. It's something that's really hard to manage.
People are
especially
gonna
when-
take the least path of resistance in their mind
You're
to
correct.
get through.
Yeah, and
Right.
like I said, we have 30 signs and for wind warnings starting in Carson, and we still get people ignoring those. So we're working on some solutions that I think can help, but again, we can only be as good as we can be.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments for NDOT? All righty, move on to our next agenda item, 6C, other comments and reports. Anything else folks want to bring up at this point? Mark?
Yes, do we have scheduled a time when we'll be reviewing the responses to the comments for the Transit Coordinated Human Services Plan?
Mr. Costa, Chris Martinovich, Transportation Manager. We have received comments, your comments, some other comments on the Coordinated Human Services Plan, and those will be brought, the plan will be brought to the RTC potentially in April.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've got one question or comment. I mentioned earlier, our regional transportation plan was approved, and NDOT has accepted or approved it, and has that been distributed to the folks that need to see it? Because we'd like to have a little bit better coordination between transportation and land use, starting, from my point of view, at the Capitol. So I think as long as everybody shares the information and we know what's going on, we'll come out ahead. So I just want to make sure that gets done.
Got it. Thank you.
Getting near the end here, it's our second opportunity for public comment. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come forward and speak at this point? Okay, we also take written comments. Okay, with that, hearing no public comments, we're on to item 8, possible action to adjourn. And I say we are adjourned.
Perfect. Will be RTC. Regional Transportation Commission to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Chair Bagwell,
Here.
Vice Chair Schudy,
Here.
Commissioner Costa,
Here,
Commissioner Maloney,
Here.
Commissioner Novak. A quorum is present.
Thank you so much. We're on to opening public comment. Do I have anyone that would like to make opening public comment? I didn't see anyone signed up either. Okay. Then we're on to agenda item 4A, which is the approval of our February 11th, 2026 minutes. Do I have any corrections or changes? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion for approval, please.
I move to approve, the minutes from February 11th, 2026 as presented.
And I will second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now on to agenda item 5A. This is discussion and possible action for a contract with Sierra Nevada Construction, Inc. For $907, and authorization for the Public Works. I know, usually we have pennies, to approve a 10% contingency amount of $115,991 for a total of $1,275,898. Casey, is there anything about this project that you just want to put on the record?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Casey Sylvester, Transportation and Traffic Engineer. So this project was advertised in December. We ended up not getting any bids. Following the correct procedure for that scenario, we re-advertised the project. We again did not have any bids. Public Works staff reached out to contractors. We were able to get a bid from Sierra Nevada Construction. This is the bid that we received from Sierra Nevada Construction, and we're looking to move forward with a construction contract with this bid. As you mentioned, the total is $1,159,907 with a 10% contingency amount of $115,991 for a total not to exceed amount of $1,275,898. Are there any questions?
Just, why do you think we didn't get any bids, yet you were able to talk Sierra into doing it?
Well, I think there's a number of factors with that, and one of those factors is the CDBG funds. So those funds need to be spent by June 30th of this year, which means we need to have a certain amount of construction done. So that makes the contract schedule tricky. I think that looking at it, and that was an added level of complexity that was hard to work through the amount of time the bid was out. Upon reaching out to Sierra Nevada Construction, they indicated they were willing to submit a bid and did. And so we're feeling pretty comfortable that we can meet that bid. There was a pre-construction meeting earlier this week already. They're ready to go. They're excited to get started. They understand on the tight deadline, and we're looking to move it along, and I think we're going to be able to do that.
Perfect. And this one really, Carmine just hit a lot of snags along the way. So I think it was a project that we're in danger of losing some opportunity for money just because we just didn't have the ability to hook in and to do some things that we wanted to get done, right? Ran into some, I hate to say the word roadblocks, but roadblocks to accomplishing this project. So I'm glad to see it come to fruition. It's really bad in that area, and I think the people on Carmine on that area really deserve some relief, and I hope that it gives them some. I know it's not going to do everything we want, but is it going to help the people that live there not to flood every single time there's a little teeny bit of water?
It is a good first step in getting those things done. This is definitely a foundation that in order to get the rest of the corridor done, this step has to happen. And a large portion of this project is funded with stormwater funds because there's a lot of stormwater work going in. This is the basic block that has to happen before any of the other things can go. And so we're excited to get that going and set that foundation. Not sure when we're going to get back to Carmine, but once we've done this, we will be able to and be able to do something additional and work our way and eventually have the corridor complete.
Mm-hmm. Be nice. You had a question, Mr. Costa?
Yes, this is related to bidding also. On page 50 of the packet, they have a list of subcontractors that bidded, but none were selected. And I just was curious about that, or if I misunderstood the form.
I wonder if Darren Anderson, project manager, would be able to come up and answer this question, because I am not sure. So Darren, the question is on this page right here, page 50, there are sub-consultants listed. And are these sub-consultants that Sierra Nevada Construction will be using as part of this project?
Yeah, so Darren Anderson, city engineer. This list is the plan of subs that they do anticipate using. I was gonna just question to clarify, you saw somewhere where it indicated they were not using them?
Yes, there was none selected.
49.
Yeah, on page 49, I think.
But those were the ones just exceeding the 1% a bit. I mean, it's a particular form for the bid form. Right.
Yeah, so for Sierra Nevada Construction, they self-perform a lot of the work. And so that's why
It's two separate forms.
yeah. So some of the list that is on the,
Page 49 versus 50.
yeah, so page 50 would be the subs that would be a part of it, but we'll often not see some on this other form just because of the self-performed work.
So as far as you know, they're not using any subcontractors? No?
That
These-
exceed
bid?
1% of the bid.
Okay, all right,
It's a, right. Right. It's a subset.
If I may,
subset,
Madam
all
Chair.
right.
I just wanted to, I wanted to offer, pending discussion here, I just wanted to offer, if there are further questions on any contract stuff, big picture, how the city does templates, how the city bids things, we're happy to have that conversation offline and separate from, so I'm happy to coordinate with you, Mr. Costa, or any of the board members related to contractual processes of the city and how that works. Just please let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Is there any other questions on this one? Any public comment on the Carmine Street project? I will accept a motion. Ms. Shooty,
I move to award the contract as presented and to authorize the Public Works Director to approve expenditure of the contingency if needed.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you so much. We're now going to move on to agenda item 5B. This is for discussion on a letter of intent, traffic safety grant for our public safety for $28,000, which includes $21,000 in grant funding and the required 25% match of $7,000 for a comprehensive safety and education campaign to increase awareness of bicycle and pedestrian laws. Erica, is there some highlights that what are we going to do with this money?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Erica Roselius, Transportation Planner Analyst. So if awarded this grant, it'll be the third year that staff has managed these funds, which are used for safety and education campaigns focused on vulnerable users. If there's sufficient funding available this year, we'd like to expand by including additional marketing outlets and addressing populations that the Office of Traffic Safety has indicated are priorities. The grant would also enable us to continue our work with the continue our work with the Road Safety Task Force. That was established under the first grant cycle, and it includes representatives from Safe Routes to School, the Carson City School District, Sheriff's Department, NDOT, Office of Traffic Safety, and others. It meets quarterly, and the purpose is to work on joint efforts across the community. Thank you. Any questions?
Does any member have a question? This one? Ms. Maloney?
Do we have any performance measures to track the successes of the past grant cycles?
Some of the campaigns are tricky to track because they're just public outreach campaigns. I included in the report, we are able to track things like the social media presence, so how many likes we get or views we get. We did a movie theater campaign, and we were able to track how many tickets were sold each year, which is around 250,000, I think. So we can do some of those metrics. And then for others, we can talk about ways that we could do outreach with the community for other specific campaigns.
is the success measured over years that we should see the objectives being met, which is the reduction of aggressive driving or no seatbelts or the types of tickets that are being issued? Do we see overall that we believe the marketing campaigns are actually impacting?
Well, I think so. So the main goals are to reduce crashes and serious injuries and get to Vision Zero. We support that state initiative. And so when we look at the crash data every year, if that's going down, particularly with serious injuries or non-vehicle crashes, then I think then that's a good metric, not statewide, not completely local, but it does give us something to go off of.
And we are or are not seeing an impact.
Well, from the report that we gave, actually I brought it a couple months ago, or was it last month? In general, they are going down and they're hitting some of the targets that we want, but so fatalities and serious injuries non-motorized has not. So that's why these campaigns, I think, are really important to continue because it's pedestrians, cyclists, and other vulnerable users.
And then do we see the opportunity to market or target our advertising to the specific zones or areas in which we're having high incidents?
We can, if that is one of the goals we want to work on. So for example, we just launched a pedestrian campaign. It's going March through June. And we have public outreach and pedestrian safety pop-ups that are happening at elementary schools. And the way that I picked those elementary schools was by using the action plan that had the most miles of high injury network in the city. So I'm using that plan a lot to determine where we exactly focus the campaigns. So particularly with outreach, like public outreach and programming.
Perfect. I think that seems reasonable to me. Find our areas of concern and try to drive that focus there. And then watch it for a year or two and
Right.
say, is it making a difference?
Yes,
Is there some catchy phrase that we have that,
we can come up with one.
well, that the objective is to, well, drill's a good word, but to drill it into people's minds so it becomes habit,
Right.
right? Is that like click it or ticket, right? Things of that nature that go, oh, put my,
Right. Mhm.
yeah, stop, right? That's a famous one for a long
Right.
time. So I guess I'm always interested, do we see a marketing component that we feel is starting to work? That you think the kids can, it's sinking in?
I think that we can if we haven't come up with a catchy phrase, but I think we can work on it. And I think that working with organizations like the Sheriff's Department, other organizations that already have catchy titles, why reinvent the wheel? Like,
agree.
we can just strengthen those. So
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing what you can come up with.
thank you.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the sheriff's department because that was one of my concerns because they're out and about and they can help you and they've got information and they do a good job. So coordinate as much as you can with them for sure.
Ms. Maloney.
Sorry to be a pill. If you don't get this grant, are these activities that could be funded with the Safe Routes to School program?
No, it's a completely separate grant. And actually the Safe Routes to School grant funding cannot be used for these measures. It has to be totally separate. So we collaborate together, but the vulnerable user program is specifically Carson City only, and the specific campaigns that the Office of Traffic Safety approves.
Okay, because the Safe Routes to School program has paid for marketing in the past, right?
Chris Martinovich, Transportation Manager. Generally, yes. NDOT has changed some of the program guidance as to what is eligible and not eligible, so we have to be careful with some of the terms and how those campaigns, messages are being presented. If they're public safety campaigns, if they're for the benefit of the public as a whole, then there's more leeway than calling it advertising, for instance, or there's certain phrases and ways we have to be careful with some of the federal guidance.
Got it. I guess where I'm going with this, and I assume I'll be the only no, but we don't have a lot of infrastructure money, and so I know it's only $7,000, but I'd rather the $7,000 go toward improving infrastructure for safety. So for me, I'm a no on this.
Have anybody else? No? No? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? I can bring it back up here to take a motion or to have discussion. I think that's why we're looking for the statistics and the value to it. I think Ms. Maloney's bringing up a point. If I only have limited dollars to utilize, is this even a good use of $7,000? I guess that's the point. And so why does staff believe that this is, just because grant money's out there, it's the same thing in our health department. Just because it's out there doesn't mean we should be doing it, right? So if I'm going to expend $7,000, what's my gain? What's my benefit? And I think that's what we're starting to really look for. So I may support it because this is year 3,
That's correct.
right? So I may support it another year, but want to start seeing you connect a dot that we really are starting to see something come through that, okay, we're starting to see that we had 0 fatalities. Oh, now we're starting to make a difference, now it's starting to work. I think that's what we're looking for, is to
That's
warrant
fair.
that. So I think I'll support it this year, but really ask you to start down that path of tying in some stats. Otherwise, it
Right.
may not go in the future.
I absolutely support it in that. I think about all the corridor improvements that we're doing and the pathways and the safe route to school. I think it really ties in. And I do appreciate that with limited funding, we need to be very mindful of how that money is spent. But I think this complements other projects in the city. So I'm in support and I'm happy to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move to approve the submission of the LOI and the grant application and to authorize the transportation manager to accept the grant funds if awarded.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, say no.
Nay.
Nay.
Let the record reflect it was 3 yeses and a no by Miss Maloney, and
There were 2 no's.
you didn't let me finish. And
Oh.
Mr. Costa, I
Oh.
said, and, I didn't get to finish, that's okay. And Mr. Costa, thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to agenda item 5C. This is the submission of an application to Aging and Disability Services for a competitive subaward seeking $132,000 for FY '27, subject to a $19,800 local match for Jack Senior Bus Program and authorization for the transportation manager to execute the agreement, as well as future amendments to the funding for time or amounts not exceeding 10%, and a summary of our program, including the status, et cetera. Marcus, are you going to give us a highlight? How many years we've been doing this one?
Quite a few.
Yeah, a lot. A lot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcus Myers, Transit Coordinator. Since fiscal year 2021, Jack has received flat funding in the amount of $96,750 through this grant, although higher levels of funding have been requested in prior years. This application requests $132,000, which would cover the associated costs of distributing 550 senior passes in fiscal year 2027. The current awarded amount covered the distribution of 403 passes when considering $20 per month cost of a reduced fare bus pass. To date, in fiscal year 2026, 518 of these passes have been distributed. Should funding fall short of the requested amount, staff recommend continuing to not limit the number of passes offered through this program and to instead continue offering an uncapped number of passes to seniors. While the level of ridership under this program is unknown, it is understood that some seniors sign up for this pass to be used as a backup or supplemental travel option, but may not actually ride the bus consistently. With funding in recent years remaining flat, staff is seeking guidance from the board to determine if Jack should continue offering an uncapped number of passes or require seniors to purchase a reduced fare pass once the number of ADSD funded passes have been depleted. Happy to take questions.
Thank you so much. So we've been funded for how many passes?
The $96,750 funds 403.
And we gave out 518?
That's what we've distributed so far this
So
year,
who
yes.
paid for the 115 passes?
Essentially no one.
Madam Chair, if I may, Transportation Manager Chris Martinovich. This program is very successful, and to Marcus's point, we don't know the statistics on the number of seniors that are using this pass to ride our buses. We do plan, to the point of the earlier conversation, we do plan to start gathering some of that through the rollout of this year's Senior Bus Pass program. But we've, in the past, asked for additional funding, as noted in the staff report, to cover the cost of the number of passes we issue. And again, we're doing that this grant cycle. This is a 2-year grant cycle. We asked 108,000 2 years ago. We received 96 for the 2 subsequent years. So we're back again asking for the full amount to cover the number of passes we're actually issuing. We haven't capped them in the past. We could cap them in the future, and that's what we're looking for is in direction for that particular area. Is if we aren't awarded the 132,000 that we're requesting, what should we do with the senior bus passes that we're not funded for?
Well, I think the discussion is the same as that means the general fund is actually subsidizing the potentially 115 or however many might come in. It's actually getting paid from somewhere, and then match isn't available to use on a project that potentially we are. And I don't mind continuing with an uncapped, but what I don't want to do is give them a pass that they never use. I can't stomach that one. That doesn't make any sense because then that's just bad math. So I want the statistic and we should see, so are we giving them 12 months worth all at the front end, or every month they re-get their next month's $20 pass?
The way the program works is they're issued one pass that is good for the entire fiscal year, as we've done for a number of years.
Now I get why.
I do want to note too that this grant is eligible as match. It's FTA eligible matching fund. So there is no match to the city, and we can use it to match our FTA funded grants. So it does reduce the general fund match
areas.
requirements for the operation of the transit system as a whole.
Mayor Bagwell, if I may.
Yeah,
And I know I got on a soapbox on the last item, so.
that's okay.
This grant, the way I think about the overage from what's reimbursed from the state here is it's a waiver of fees rather than a cost to the city. So giving out the extra passes isn't necessarily costing the city anything.
Well, my concern is there's other individuals that would love a waived fee. We have some very benevolent people in our community that provide me dollars through the Mayor's Attendance Hall of Fame that give me so that I can give bus passes to the kids for a few schools that have no buses. And so I give them bus passes and I pay for all of those, which again, we have benevolent people in the community that are donating, but it's hard for me to understand that I have bus passes that may not be being used when I have individuals that it's really made a difference for them to go to school because they live out Deer Run Road area and they're not going to get to Silver Campus. I got to get the right name for that now, right? And so that's all. I don't want bus passes. use it, right? And so, and it sounds great to say 518, but I'm somehow doubting they're using them, or they only used it one time in the entire year. And that's quite the value. That was quite an expensive trip at $20 a month. You know, I'm like, oh, that's $240 of value, Mhm. It's drastic.
I'm leaning towards voting against this for the same reason. I had an original question here after reading this. Okay, we have these distributed. How many people are actually using it? We distribute it one time for a whole year. They may use it just 1 or 2 months or one or two trips. We don't know. I think in this program, I hate to do it because I know there's people that should go ahead and need this service, but we don't know who's using it or how many people are needing it. It's some money that could be well spent somewhere else. And I think we need to put more controls or more accountability on this program to get data in order to go ahead and continue it.
So let's talk about what we could do to award passes that matches the grant, right? So let me think about, I'm getting on the bus. Are you saying there's nothing in the counters or anything that says senior bus pass or senior pass for Bagwell, or we have no capability of understanding who's using that pass? So they can hand it to anybody and they just flash the pass as they get on the bus?
Correct.
Well, I'm looking for a way to feel if I get 132,000, I'm willing to give 132,000 worth of, because if we can help the seniors have transportation, I'm all for that. I just want an accountable program. I don't want wasted bus passes, and I don't want bus passes that they just can hand off to transfer to somebody else. So give me the mechanism that we can have accountability to the actual bus pass.
Well, right now, in terms of accountability for when you get on a bus, if you're a senior and you wave a bus pass, you get on the bus. We're not tracking how many senior passes we're seeing, but we are making sure that only seniors are using the bus pass. So if a young person gets on with a pink senior bus pass, then right this year they're pink. I don't know what color they'll be next year, but we'll order a different color to make sure we're using this year's pass. So they're very clear. Colors changes every year. You can't duplicate. If should anyone lose one, we don't reissue for free. So should you lose one, you are charged $5 to get a new one. So we're not seeing people losing them, getting another one free of charge, where we're out the cost of the printing and the processing of the application. So that is also happening. In terms of what we plan to do going forward at our senior bus pass event that we hold each June, should we have one this year, we would ask riders to fill out a short 2 to 3 question survey to understand general metrics as to how many times do you use the bus. We haven't figured out those questions, but we do plan to ask that as part of the application that is required for members of the public who want this pass to complete and submit to the city. What we do with those applications, what we do with that information is then we take that information, we must report it to ADSD. I believe it's on a monthly basis through a software program where our dispatchers, Marcus, and the state all look at this. We enter in the data, and so there is reporting and real-time metrics of names, individuals, when they were issued the pass, what number pass they were issued, and items like that. But the one area we don't have is that moment when they ride on the bus. Who's that person? What did they use the bus pass? And I think that would be a difficult element for us to track with just a paper pass and our fare media that we use today. That would be an additional burden on our drivers at this point.
I thought we were getting a neat new fare box program and things, so I don't understand how anyone gets on a bus and is not recorded that they were on the bus. I guess I'm really having a hard time, I don't care who it is, how'd they get on the bus without being documented that there's a rider on that bus?
We do document that there's a rider on the bus. They are counted with our automatic passenger counters, as well as the drivers do count the individuals who get on the bus. We're not tracking the type of fare media that every individual is using when they get on the bus.
guess that's a different problem. So it doesn't matter. So what did you do with the punch ones? Because the ones I give the kids is a monthly pass. It starts, I punched the little month and I run over to the school and I say, okay, here's your April passes.
Sure.
And I give them to the 10 kids.
If it's a punched pass, it has the month punched out.
Right.
They'll show the driver will look and make sure the correct month is active for that month,
Doesn't
and then
record that
they get
anywhere
on the
either.
bus.
So the bus thing just says 10 people are on the bus, but we don't know whether 2 were full pay, 2 were,
That's correct. We don't know.
we don't have any idea. Boy, that's a different problem. It's just a different problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
I see
great.
there is a letter of support from the senior center that was in the packet. And I guess we do have at least some data on that bus stop there, if they're actually going to the senior center. But I think we all agree it would be nice to know, are these passes being used? And is there an easy way to track it or sample or something?
Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
We used to collect the fare media in the old system, so we had a count of senior passes or reduced fare, whatever, but we didn't track individual people. So it sounds like the new system may not do that. As a matter of policy, this body has supported essentially free transit for seniors in Carson City. And there was one year when I was transportation manager where I said, this is a lot of work. Do we want to do this? And we got pushback. People love those passes. So we don't know how many people are using it, but we also don't know that they're not using it. So I want that on the record as well, because I have talked with many seniors that love this program.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just disappointed that we don't have any accountability to its use. I guess that,
Where we do have the
That bothers me.
accountability is in the fares that are paid. We know how many single tickets are sold, we know how much cash we collect, we know how many monthly passes we sold. Those are tracked by individual fare revenue, but who's riding the bus with those fares, we're not tracking.
but let's do it in the opposite direction then. Is this the only thing that we give free, is these seniors? So if you have all that accountability that you just discussed, and I have a total counter, so I had 20,000 riders this year minus so many single rate payers, so many pass payers, is that's what's left, are these freebies then? Overall, I mean. not
Unless you're
20,000.
under 4,
Okay, but
I
right.
don't believe everything else is fare paying.
So we could look to that to say, on average, there's 450 free ones going, to at least get an idea, just to look at it. And so I just think it's important. Again, I'm going to support this at this point, but I think what this is telling us is, and especially in Jack, because like you said, I know there's a lot of discussion about changing routes and doing this and doing that, but we don't have good data to even, it's really hard to make decisions in a vacuum. It's really hard. And I think it's a lot to ask of us to determine where the priorities should lie. And so I don't want to take this away from the seniors that have had it. We aren't required to put money in to make this successful. But at the same time, I don't want passes out there not being used when I have, maybe it doesn't matter if they use it because we got the 132,000, so who cares whether they use it?
The use doesn't affect the amount of money that we get.
Right, right. So maybe it's just worth it if a person thinks they might use it and they end up not using it. Right, it's insurance for them, right? Anyway, okay. Well, I'll take some public comment on this item. Okay, I'll bring it back up here. Interesting. Mr. Costa?
Yes, I know we're not here to talk about transit. With the transit plan, I had a number of concerns about the transit plan, which I understand we're going to address in the next few months. And this is another concern we have about um, who's actually using or who's using the passes that they get. And just in general, how it is. I don't think it should be a 1 year, one-time distribution pass for people. On the other hand, we want to go ahead and give seniors a chance to have some transportation.
Right.
Many of them have limited income and they can't afford that. So anybody with any type of conscience, you'd say, yeah, go ahead and continue this program. But we do have a responsibility to the taxpayers too, that we're efficiently using our funds in general and in the transit program in particular, which has me very concerned, and we're kind of like being torn in two directions here on how to vote on this.
That's a true statement. Right. I think since there isn't there's no drawback to issuing, is there an eligibility criteria on the application for those that get a pass? Or you just have to be 60?
That's the eligibility, 16 over.
That's it? So it doesn't matter how much money I make? If I wanted one, I could go get one?
Correct.
Well, like I said, and maybe it's okay. And I've had people say, why aren't you giving those under 18 that need them to get to school because the bus doesn't go there? I'm like, well, because we don't have an entity like aging that pays for it. I mean, we have a funding source for the seniors, which is aging. And that's their criteria. If you're of age, that's it. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess that's their criteria, it's not ours.
If it pleases the chair, I'd be willing to make a motion.
Sure.
I move to approve the submission of the grant application and to authorize the transportation manager to execute the grant agreement and future amendments regarding extensions of time and changes of funding, not exceeding 10% of the present amount.
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous.
I was an aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
No,
on
that's
that one.
okay. I just said it now.
Oh, okay.
A reluctant aye.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. Please mark Mr. Costa no. Thank you. Oh, aye, yes. Oh, I said it was unanimous. Sorry, thought you were correcting me. Okay. We'll go to agenda item 5D. Discussion and possible, let's go for another application. These are going so well. For Nevada Aging and Disability Services for a competitive sub-award seeking $5,000 for fiscal '27 with a 15% match of $750 for reduced fare monthly bus passes to eligible individuals with disabilities on Jack to use them for fixed route, and authorization for the transportation manager to execute the grant agreement as well as other future amendments of time or changes in funding not exceeding 10%. Marcus, is this something new? This one's new. Okay, talk to us about this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcus Myers, Transit Coordinator. In response to community requests to make transit more accessible to individuals with disabilities, Jack is seeking $5,000 in ADSD funding to further reduce the cost of bus passes for the disabled community. Reduced fixed route fares are currently available to military, disabled, and youth populations at $20 a month, which is half the standard rate. This grant would allow Jack to offer monthly fixed route passes for only $3 per month or $36 per year to qualifying individuals, which would be used to cover the 15% local match required by this opportunity. Thus far in fiscal year 2026, 129 reduced fare passes have been sold at $20 each for a total fare revenue of $2,580. This application requests $5,000, which would allow for 250 of these monthly passes to be distributed at the $3 rate. Staff anticipates coordination with outside agencies to ensure these passes are reasonably accessible to the target population.
So this one, we have the actual number because we've issued a specific pass to 129,
Yes, that's how many reduced monthly passes we've distributed so
and
far.
they'll pay $17 less. They've been
Correct.
paying 20, so hopefully they could get it for 3.
Correct.
I like this one better. It's a known quantity. I like this better. Okay. Anybody else have comment on this one? Miss-
On this one, I know you've got 129 monthly passes, but does that get counted when they actually use it, the bus each time?
The individual ride is
Price the
tracked, but
pass.
the pass is not accounted for. It's similar to the senior bus pass, they show it when they get on.
But this
So
one,
we-
they're laying out $20 currently.
Yeah.
And so we know how many we've sold as reduced fare disability. And Lori buys a lot of youth fare discounted ones.
This is well thought out, and I appreciate
Mhm.
figuring out how to cover the match. Good job.
Yeah, I like this one. And it'll be a great reduction for them. Is there any public comment on this item? No? I'll bring it back here for a motion.
I move to approve the submission of the grant application and to authorize the transportation manager to execute the grant agreement and future amendments regarding extensions of time and changes in funding not exceeding 10% of the present amount.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We'll now move on to agenda item 5E, discussion and possible action for a contract with Parametrics to assist in the development of the City of Fernley's Safe Route to Schools Master Plan as part of the Western Nevada Safe Routes Grant Program operated by us for a not-to-exceed amount of $115,495, which includes a required 5% local match. Ms. Schutte, your disclosure, please.
NRS 281A.420 requires me to disclose conflicts of interest and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. My nephew is Chris Martinovich, who is employed by Carson City and will be presenting this item. Chris and I are not receiving compensation of any kind directly related to this item. It will not foreseeably impair or enhance the terms of his service with the city, and we are not affected by the outcome of this item to a greater degree than any other resident of Carson City. NRS 281A.420 only requires abstention in clear cases, and the independent judgment of a reasonable person in my position would not be impacted by my familial relationship. Therefore, I do not have a disqualifying conflict, and I will be voting on this matter.
Thank you so much. Okay, Erica, are there any highlights on this one? I'm sorry, Chris.
That's
It
okay.
says Erica. over there,
Erica's
too.
ready for any particular safe routes questions. Chris Martinovich, Transportation Manager. Nothing really to highlight on this other than we have an agreement with the City of Fernley for $5,000 in local match. They've verbally agreed to pay the additional $770, whatever it is, dollars in local match. We're working to execute an amendment to that agreement with the City of Fernley to ensure that this project gets done. So that's what I have to add. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? This one? Oh, good. Oh, Mr. Costa?
Is this a new program with Fernley, or have we been working with them before in this area?
The action plan itself or the Western Nevada Safe Routes to School,
Western Nevada Safe Routes to School.
they have always been included in our region, as far as I know. Yeah.
Okay, so we've worked with them before and we have a history of working with them.
Correct.
Okay. And there'll be, as I was informed, I think last meeting, the Safe Routes to School, they have head count totals on our website, which I'll take a look at. Does Fernley also going to provide those to the people that are actually using this, the number of children actually using this?
Chris Martinovich, one of the elements that will be the data collection associated with this contract to understand how many people are walking and biking and other modes getting to school. We'll do that as part of this plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back up here for a motion. Greg?
Okay, I move to approve the contract as presented.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're on to agenda item 6, the Transportation Manager's Report. Mr. Martinovich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to note that March 18th is National Transit Employee Appreciation Day. So our transit agency, TransDev, First Transit, they'll be holding some events at the transit facility for our drivers. I just wanted to put on the record, appreciate them, coming to work and driving and serving the people of Carson City, whether they're on fixed route or they're our paratransit service. They do a lot for the city. And Safe Routes to School front, we are kicking off our safety campaign, as Erica mentioned under a previous item, and it'll continue for a number of months. We're also, in conjunction with that, are doing a poster contest with a few schools here in the area. So engaging students through a poster contest, and I think the winner is an ice cream social or something at the end. So, and bikes, yes. So definitely some incentives there for the poster contest. We are
Scooters too.
We are working on scoping our District 4 regional road projects. We plan to bring the regional roads and the local roads to the RTC for selection in May. We're targeting the month of May for selection of our District 4 projects using on local roads and on regional roads, as I stated. We're also reviewing the comments and incorporating those comments for the Transit Development and Coordinated Human Services Plan. Again, that was alluded to a few times tonight. We are working and updating that plan, and we'll get that to the board here in the coming month or two. At the Board of Supervisors retreat at the end of February, the Board of Supervisors gave direction, and Madam Chair, if you and Supervisor Schutte would like to add anything further, they gave direction for staff to start developing a process for having developers pay an amount of money for the first maintenance of roads that are built by developers and dedicated to Carson City. So we are working on what that looks like, and we'll bring that forward to the Board of Supervisors at some point in the future. Just know that that's something we're trying to do to address some of the road maintenance items we've discussed here many, many times. Next month, anticipate fiscal 27 budgets. So April's our month for budgets for the Transit Fund, CAMPO Fund, the Regional Transportation Fund, the Street Operations Fund, and the Street and Highway Fund, as it'll be now called, will also be presented as it's a new fund for us to start using on our local road projects. We also plan to bring an item for North Carson Street next month, as we're about to start the public outreach phase, and so want to get some input and give a status update on to the North Carson Corridor, North Carson Complete Streets Corridor project, to kind of share what we're doing and what the upcoming project looks like going forward. With that, that concludes my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Costa?
Yes, I had a question, Chris, on what you had talked about, April being budget month, for the transportation. And I wanted to know if you could explain a little bit what that entails. Does the board have any input into that, or what does that mean exactly?
Mr. Costa, basically what it's meant in the past is we'll present the tentative budgets to the RTC for your review. Any comments? Ultimately, you'll make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. What those recommendations are up to you, and then the board will take its action on approving the budget at future meetings.
Okay, very good.
Did you have something, Greg?
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned, the Transit Appreciation Day is coming, whatever. And since we're looking ahead a little bit, April, it's work zone season, and we're going to have National Work Zone Awareness Day, week, or whatever. So I don't know if you have any planning underway or working with NDOT or others on that. But from what I've seen, RTC, between the state and the local and the private projects, there's a sea of orange out there. Yes. So let's get our message out as soon as we can. And again, that's towards the end of April, but I wanted to bring it up now.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 6B, our street operations and control report. Is there something you'd like to highlight? No highlight?
There is nothing I'd like to highlight unless there are questions.
Does anybody have a question?
I will highlight, Madam Chair, if I may, that last month we brought up the decorations, and so I just wanted to make sure that it was noted on packet page 332, third box down, or remove Christmas decorations. We did get the rest of them. We didn't lose any. We took down the same number we put up.
Sad. I'd leave those up all year. I love them.
I do have some questions, but I'll contact Chris offline on this, about this.
Okay. Nobody else? Okay, then we'll move on to agenda item 6C. Any reports by anyone? Anything to share? Anything that was missed that we need to know about? General? Nothing? Okay, then I'll move to final public comment. Do we have any? No? Okay, your last chance, it's all gone. With that, if there's no objections, we haven't missed anything, we are adjourned. Thank you all for a good meeting.